Hello, Earthlings. How are you? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Alright, let's jump into our cosmic weather for today. Starting off with our space weather, we have our solar wind is at 294.3 kilometers per second. Planetary KN index is a 1, expected to be no more than that in the next 24 hours. M-class flare possibility is up to 70% chance, while the X-class flare is only 1%. And the chances of a geomagnetic storm within the next 24 hours are somewhere within the 20-25% range. That's because we just had a CME that hit the planet a couple of days ago. So today is the day when they're expected to hit the planet, hit Earth. Chance of magnetic storms, NOAA forecast estimates 20 to 40% chance of polar geomagnetic storms on the 28th and 29th in response to the arrival of one or more CMEs. High latitude sky watchers should be alert for auroras. And on Mars too, sunspot 1387 erupted on Christmas Day, hurling a coronal mass ejection directly towards Mars. According to analysis from the Goddard Space Weather Lab, impact will occur on December 30th at 1800 Universal Time. Unlike Earth, Mars does not have a global magnetic field. Instead, a red planet has magnetic umbrellas. These are fossil remains of ancient global magnetic field that decayed billions of years ago. When a CME hits Mars, the action happens in the umbrella's canopies. Because the umbrellas are scattered around Mars, Martian auroras can theoretically occur near the equator. Alright? And let's take a look at what's going on with the planets. And the stars, planets, we have the sun is still in Capricorn. It's going to be in Capricorn for a little while, till sometime middle of next month. Whereas the moon is in Aquarius, just getting ready to pass out, but nonetheless it is still there in Aquarius, which is the sign of the water bearer. Aquarius is the one who's teaching us to balance. Yeah, has 1 foot on the land, 1 foot on the water. The land represents the conscious mind, the water, the unconscious. Therefore, the idea is to be able to be balanced between the conscious and unconscious minds. Balance them out. If you think of water as like emotions, then balancing the emotions, balancing how things flow between the two worlds is the best way to go. And planet-wise, moon-wise, as you can see, we're at a 70% full. So we've already on the upward phase. It's called the waxing phase, when it waxes up from a new moon to a full moon. And our Mayan oracle today, I'm going to show you this instead of the little widget I usually do. This is starroot.com, starroot.com, and here is exactly the same thing, but all this information is together on one page, so I wanted to show you. Today's the red overtone moon. Red overtone moon. It gives a little bit more information. It tells you it's part of the Blue Castle. The Earth family is the Gateway family, part of the Blood Clan. It's an galactic activation portal day. And the phrase for today is, I empower in order to purify, commanding flow. I seal the process of universal water with the overtone tone of radiance. I'm guided by the power of navigation, and as I said, it is a galactic activation portal day. Some of the other things that are on here you can see is this right here. This is a wave spell. It's 13 days. Okay, just like this here. And what it's doing, it's placing out all of the different symbols as you would in a wave spell. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This is how the wave spell looks. So today we are in overtone. That's 5. We're right down here, the overtone moon. So the energy moves around, it gets to here, and it jumps to the next wave spell, which is just like this, except a different set of symbols. Alright, then you can look at it from this other perspective here as well, as it's moving around to see where we are. Okay, we're moving, continuing this way here, and everything moves accordingly. Okay, so you can see the numbers are moving and the things are moving. Alright, some good information here, and on the Gregorian calendar it is Wednesday, December 28th, 2011. Alright, very good. So that's our cosmic weather for today. That should get you going. Just remember, you look at this just like you're looking at a surfing report. Think of it that way. We're surfing the energy of life. In order to surf the energy of life, we want to know what the waves are going to be like. We look out, we want to be able to see and feel energetically what the energy is, and we also use these tools to help us key in so we understand intellectually what they are as well. And sometimes to understand things intellectually helps us to understand them at a deeper level. Sometimes not, sometimes yes, but you get the point of what I'm saying, right? Okay, first thing we're going to start off with today is about 9/11. And this is David Chandler. And David Chandler is talking all about World Trade Center 7. It was the third building to fall on September 11th. And he talks in great detail. You're going to find this video to be very informative. It comes to us from Architects and Engineers for Truth. So here you go. Enjoy. I'll be back momentarily. Alright, here we go.
This is a revised analysis of the downward acceleration of the World Trade Center Building 7, which collapsed in a manner suggestive of controlled demolition on September 11th.
Hold on, let me take a back up here. Alright, restart. Alright, here we go. This is David Chandler.
This is a revised analysis of the downward acceleration of the World Trade Center Building 7, which collapsed in a manner suggestive of controlled demolition on September 11th, 2001. My earlier analysis, which is posted on YouTube under my own name, was based on the best information I had at the time, but I now have been able to improve on my results using new information available in the recently released NIST final report on Building 7. Despite the accurate data available to NIST, their final report makes dishonest claims about the rate of fall of the building. I'll come back to the NIST report at the end of this video. In my earlier video analysis, I used the width of the building, which is known to be 100 meters, to calibrate the scale of the image. In this remake, I've used the vertical spacing of the windows visible as horizontal streaks on the face of the building. From this, I was able to identify the 29th floor, which is listed in the NIST document as having a height of 683 feet 6 inches, measuring from some baseline which they don't specify. They have the blueprints, I don't, but I take this measurement to be reliable. The other measurement they give is the height of the roof line, which they state is 925 feet 4 inches above their baseline. The difference of these two heights converted to meters is the basis for the calibration of this video. The actual measurements were done exactly as before. The cursor was placed on the corner of the building, and marks were placed frame by frame. The built-in functions of the Physics Toolkit software capture the positions and times of these marks in a data table from which it computes and displays various kinds of graphs. I'm here plotting velocity as a function of time. The slope of this kind of graph gives the acceleration. Notice that the data hovers close to 0 for nearly a second, and then it drops precipitously. From the moment of the drop, the slope of the line appears essentially constant for about 2.5 seconds. By marking two data points, the program can compute the best straight line to fit the data for the linear portion of the graph. The slope of the line is the acceleration. Down here at the bottom, the computed acceleration is shown. Minus 9.885 meters per second squared. The minus sign indicates downward acceleration. The Acceleration of gravity for New York City is 9.802 meters per second squared, so the measured acceleration is within 1% of the acceleration of gravity. Given the graininess and size of the image, 1% is not a significant difference from the actual acceleration of gravity, so the most accurate way to characterize the result is to say the acceleration of the building is indistinguishable from freefall. Notice that a little after the 3-second mark on our graph, about 2.5 seconds after the building drops, the acceleration ceases to be uniform. This indicates that the falling building is starting to encounter more resistance. Any measurement of the average acceleration that continues for more than the first 2.5 seconds of fall will show a lower average acceleration, masking the fact that for a significant 2.5 seconds, the building was in literal freefall. Freefall can only be achieved if there is zero resistance to the motion. In other words, the gravitational potential energy of the building is not available to crush or deform anything. During freefall, all of the gravitational potential energy of the building is being converted into kinetic energy and nothing else. Any breaking, bending, crushing, or pulverizing of the building components is occurring without the assistance of the free-falling portion of the building. Any force the top portion of the building might exert on the lower portion would be reflected in a reaction force that would produce an observable slowing of the rate of fall. A reaction force is observable in this graph only in the last seconds when the velocity strays from the straight line. Let's return to the NIST final report on WTC-7. I would like to clarify one thing right away. On page 40 there is a phrase, quote, assuming that the descent speed was approximately constant, unquote. The assumption is clearly false from even casual observation. However, the fact that they proceed to use a formula for constant acceleration clearly indicates the constant speed reference is a misstatement. They're actually assuming constant acceleration. More bizarre is the claim that, quote, the actual time for the upper 18 stories to collapse, based on video evidence, was approximately 40% longer than the computed freefall time. If you start with a 40% increase in the time of fall and work backwards to compute the effective acceleration, their claim is equivalent to saying the acceleration of the building is only 5 meters per second squared, which is 51% the acceleration of gravity. Our results, however, clearly show a significant stretch of time in which the acceleration of the building is indistinguishable from the acceleration of gravity itself. In other words, complete freefall. They did not use a method that sampled the position versus time to show the velocity profile, as was done here. The NIST report uses only 2 data points, the supposed start of the collapse and the time the roofline disappears from view. By choosing an early starting time several seconds prior to the onset of freefall and computing only the average acceleration between that point and the disappearance of the roofline, they gloss over everything that happened in between. I'm sure they detected some movement of the roofline at the point where they started the clock as a rationale for choosing that point. Even our data here shows a tiny amount of motion in the first second. But what was going on during this time is qualitatively different from what happened moments later. The event triggering the start of their measurement could more accurately be described as precursor movement. This is like timing the acceleration of a car in a drag race, where the starting light goes on, and the driver revs his engine a few times before letting out the clutch. It may be a fair way to penalize a sloppy driver, but it doesn't say anything about the acceleration of the car once it is actually moving. This method tells us nothing about the nature of the motion itself. They merely assume uniform acceleration over a time interval in which it is clear that the acceleration is not uniform. Mislabeling their assumption to be constant speed indicates sloppy work, but asserting uniform acceleration for an interval where the building sits nearly motionless for several seconds, then drops for several seconds in freefall is beyond incompetence. It is a crude, blatant lie. The average acceleration is a meaningless quantity. It is the instantaneous acceleration that is significant, because the acceleration at any moment is an indication of the forces at work. To measure and publish the meaningless average acceleration when sufficient data and a multi-million-dollar budget are available to measure the actual velocity profile constitutes either gross incompetence or an attempt to obfuscate the issue. This is high school physics we're talking about. If they can't get the high school physics right, What confidence can we have in their multicolored, computer-animated, whiz-bang simulations that tell us the exact sequence of girder failures without any physical evidence for any of it? I'm a high school teacher. I teach my students better lab practice than this demonstrates here. In this video, I have measured the velocity profile and the instantaneous acceleration of the building with orders of magnitude better precision than NIST, and I did it with zero budget, a free software tool commonly used in high school physics classes, and a copy of a video downloaded from the internet. I know the guys at NIST are not incompetent. What I'm left to conclude is that their only purpose in even mentioning free fall is to muddy the water and derail the discussion. The rate of fall of the building is an embarrassment to the official theory. Free fall is a small detail in the whole complex analysis, but it is not a minor issue. Buildings cannot fall at free fall through themselves, because even a weakened building requires energy to break up the pieces, crush the concrete, and push things around. When the falling building pushes things, the fall is not free. The things push back, and the reaction forces will measurably slow the descent of the building. This is why one would reasonably expect crumbling structures to come down in a tumbling, halting, irregular manner. In short, the evidence is clear. We are witnessing not the collapse of a building, but its demolition. And we have received not a report from an independent scientific investigation, but a cover-up by a government agency.
It's amazing. Amazing, incredible, pick your word. For the third time today, it's reminiscent of those pictures we've all seen too much on television before, when a building was deliberately destroyed by well-placed dynamite to knock it down.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is the UFO News, and I have 4 stories for you today. First one comes to us out of Japan. This was from the 26th. Amazing twin UFOs emerged from underground a Japanese volcano. So let's take a look at this, see what's popping out of the volcano here. Alright. Alright, let's keep our eye out for those UFOs. Alright, I'm not seeing anything right at the moment here. It says this looks like it's 500%. He's following something up here. Alright. Alright, it's very faint, but the link is up so you can check it out yourself and you'll be able to see exactly what this one is. The next one comes to us out of Germany. UFO disclosure in Germany. A German citizen has won his first battle in an effort to view a UFO report created by the scientific service of the German Parliament, aka Bundestag. After attempts by the Bundestag to block the document's release, the Berlin Administrative Court has ruled that the German citizen has the right to read the document as requested. The Bundestag, in appealing the decision, sending it to the Supreme Administrative Court of Berlin, Brandenburg, for a final decision. Germany has claimed that they have never officially investigated the UFO phenomena. However, other European nations, such as Britain and France, have not only held official investigations, they have released thousands of previously classified documents. This is what has inspired German citizens Frank Richtmeier in his quest to seek out Germany's X-Files. He told the Berlin court, "I want to know facts, and it bothers me that in France, England, USA, Canada, the citizens can see the UFO files, and I am not informed as German from my German government. It is therefore such a glaring discrepancy. In France, a citizen is automatically informed by his government because the government provides the UFO files to the website. of the space agency. So officially on the government side, anyone can view the documents free at home. Alright, so you can see that they have problems with disclosure, not just here in America, but around the world in different locations. Our next story comes to us out of latest-UFO sightings-net or .net. Okay, remember a couple of weeks ago the poll came out, disclosure poll, and then Obama came out and the White House made their official thing that there was no UFOs. Well, this is a response to that. It says most Americans believed that Barack Obama's denial on extraterrestrials is a lie. Now, for those of you who believe that every word out of Obama's mouth is truth, this may come as a shock to you that he told a mistruth. But unfortunately, it's true because there is a lot of evidence out there. According to a survey, most Americans believe that when the U.S. government denies about keeping alien bodies and other extraterrestrial evidence was lying, which was conducted by UFO surveyors. 99% of Americans do believe that extraterrestrial beings have come for several times today and even on ancient times. And 98% of Americans do believe that the U.S. government knows more than we know about aliens and extraterrestrials. They believe that the U.S. government, scientists, CIA, and military have been keeping evidence of extraterrestrials and aliens and lying on their denials. According to Dr. Simeon of the Mount Baldy Institute for Resonant Viewing in Boulder, Colorado, that most of the people do believe in the U.S. government has more knowledge and information than the U.S. has conducted on UFOsurvey.com. When asked, most people feel that the government has more knowledge and information than they are letting on. Alright, so we kind of already know that, but you could see it, reflected in these kind of articles. People do believe, they know the government's lying. Obama is not really known for his truth-keeping or truth-telling, is he? He's more known for his truth cover-up and truth denials, those kind of things. Alright, our next story. Pilots describe their sightings of triangle UFOs. A UK documentary video. Black triangles are a class of unidentified flying objects with certain common features, which have reportedly been observed from the 1940s to the present. Media reports of black triangles originally came from the United States and the United Kingdom, but phenomena consistent with those reports have been reported as exceptional occurrences throughout recorded history, using the language of the times. Reports generally describe the class of UFOs as enormous, silent, black, triangular objects, hovering or slowly cruising at low altitudes over cities and highways, usually at night, and making no attempt to evade detection. These objects are often described as having running lights, either bright white lights or pulsing colored lights that appear at each corner of the triangle. Unlike other reported types of UFOs, triangle-class UFOs have been reported to be visible to radar, as was the case of the famous Belgian UFO wave. During these incidents, 2 Belgian F-16s attempted to intercept the objects, getting a successful missile lock on 2 occasions, only to be outmaneuvered. A key conclusion at the Project Condon report was that no attempt should be made on the part of the civilian or RAF air defense aircraft to outmaneuver these objects, except to place them astern to mitigate the risk of collision. Okay? And our very last story here, this comes up out of UFO Digest. It says Peter X. Dunn, alien starships inbound, destination Earth. We have visitors to our neighborhood. They arrived unannounced and discreetly took up residence in the vicinity of Mercury, a planet aptly named after the Roman messenger of the gods. For this indeed is big news, not least because the vehicle that has arrived is truly gargantuan. But this is a starship so vast it could easily accommodate many millions of individual entities and the support systems necessary to sustain them on their long voyage across the universe. Now, we do not know exactly who it was among the scientific community that monitors these cosmic events who first noticed the presence of this alien pseudoplanetoid, and the chances are we never will, because it was never the intention of the community to tell us about the arrival of this colossal interstellar wayfarer of the solar system. In fact, it is patiently obvious now that they are going to do their damnedest to hide this particular event from us. So let us thank all the guy known only to this YouTube persona, SINXTER, for drawing our attention to a phenomenon that could have such a massive impact on all our lives. For it was his sensational upload to YouTube of footage he found on the SECI website that made us all aware of what is going down right now in the corner of the cosmos. Our sincerest thanks to him, SINXTER, for the heads up. Okay, there's more to this article here, but this talks about the object that is out there by Mars. We did a report on this, so this is just a good follow-up on that and a reminder. So read this article and check out the videos. Remind yourself of what it actually was that's up there, and just be informed, because things are going on. We're approaching, just a few days away, 2012. I think we're going to have a lot of activity in this 2012 that is going to be quite interesting. We already have a lot of individuals who are looking at this time as very intense because of all the predictions and prophecies. You can surely bet that there's going to be a lot of people who believe that this is the end of the world coming up, and this is the last year of life that they're going to have on this planet. So let's just see what goes on between the believers and the non-believers. We'll find the truth somewhere in there, right? All right, there you go. That's our UFO news for today. I'm going to jump away, a song, and I'll be back momentarily. Wake up. What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Government should be afraid.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing, but they're illusion from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, big brother's watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What if I land and two if I see? And I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth. Okay. So, what do we got next? Yesterday, talked about the Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights are very important. This article speaks to the Bill of Rights. This is out of InfoWars. It's about Ron Paul. The NDAA repeals more rights. Little by little, in the name of fighting terrorism, our Bill of Rights is being repealed. The Fourth Amendment has been rendered toothless by the Patriot Act. No more can we truly feel secure in our persons, houses, papers, and effects when we know there is an exception that fits nearly any excuse for our government to search and seize our property. Of course, the vast majority of Americans may say, well, I'm not a terrorist, so I have no reason to worry. However, innocent people are wrongly accused all the time. The Bill of Rights is there precisely because the founders wanted to set a very high bar for the government to overcome in order to deprive an individual of life or liberty. To lower that bar is to endanger everyone. When the bar is low enough to include political enemies, our descent into totalitarianism is virtually assured. The Patriot Act, as bad as its violation of the Fourth Amendment, was just one step down the slippery slope. The recently passed National Defense Authorization Act continues to slip towards tyranny and, in fact, accelerates it significantly. The main section of concern, Section 1021 of the NDAA Conference Report, does to the Fifth Amendment what the Patriot Act did to the Fourth. The Fifth Amendment is about much more than the right to remain silent in the face of government questioning. It contains very basic and very critical stipulations about due process of law. The government cannot imprison a person for no reason and with no evidence presented or access to legal counsel. The dangers in the NDAA are alarming. Vague, undefined criteria for those who can be indefinitely detained by the U.S. government without trial. It is now no longer limited to members of Al-Qaeda or the Taliban, but anyone accused of substantially supporting such groups or associated forces. How closely associated, and what constitutes substantial support? What if it was discovered that someone who committed a terrorist act was one involved with a charity, or supported a political candidate? Are all donors of that charity or supporters of that candidate now suspect and subject to indefinite detainment? Is that charity now an associated force? Additionally, the legislation codifies into law for the first time authority to detain Americans that has to the point been only claimed by the President Obama. According to subsection E of the Section 1021, nothing in this section shall be construed to affect existing law or authorities relating to the detention of American citizens, lawful residents of resident aliens of the United States, or any other persons who are captured or arrested in the United States. This means the President's widely expanded view of his own authority to detain Americans indefinitely, even on American soil, is for the very first time in this legislation codified into law. This should chill all of us to our cores. The Bill of Rights has no exemptions for really bad people or terrorists, or even non-citizens. It is a key check on government power against any person. It is not a weakness in our legal system. It is the very strength of our legal system. The NDAA attempts to justify abridging the Bill of Rights on the theory that the rights are suspended in the time of war and the entire United States is a battlefield in the war on terror. This is very dangerous development indeed. Beware. Beware, a warning from Ron Paul, and a warning to be heeded indeed. Now, just because I suppose, I thought that I would put this up here for you. This is a list over at Google of concentration camps here in the United States. Okay? And you can see there's a lot of them. It says there's 2 pages worth, and as you can see here, look at all of those in the United States. That's a pretty good sized map. We even got one way out here in the Pacific Ocean. Okay, that's a lot of, let's see, we zoomed in a little too much. Where are we at here? Alright, I'm just trying to zoom in a little bit more, but not quite that much. Alright. Just to give you an idea, look at this. This is the United States, and these are FEMA camps throughout this entire country of ours. That's a lot. That is a lot. All right? So check that link out. That way, be aware of where they are and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully, we're never going to have to deal with that situation, but just in case, the old government that we can all trust on to turn their back on the American people who they're supposed to serve is doing things that we need to pay attention to. All right, the big caucus is coming up in Iowa, and it says the Iowa GOP is moving their vote count to undisclosed location. Threats to disrupt the Iowa Republican caucuses next week have prompted GOP officials to move the vote tabulation to an undisclosed location, Politico has learned. The state party has not yet told the campaigns exactly where the returns will be added up, only that it will be off-site from the Iowa's GOP Des Moines headquarters. The 2008 caucus results were tabulated at the state party offices, which sit just a few blocks from the state capitol. Activist groups, including the Occupy movement, have indicated they'll attempt to interrupt the rallies in the closing days before next Tuesday's caucuses. The AP reported today that Occupy is making plans to even attend some caucuses and vote no preference, but not disturb the voting process. But Iowa Republicans are also bracing for another threat, sources say, including hacking. Iowa GOP Matt Strawn wouldn't comment on the plan to move the vote counting except they're increasing security measures. The Iowa GOP has taken additional safeguards to ensure the caucus results are tabulated and reported to the public in an accurate and timely manner, Strawn said. We're not commenting on specific security procedures. All right. Now, Ron Paul, as you may have heard as you're flipping through the channels, he's getting smeared in some of the mainstream media. This article here by Paul Joseph Watson goes on to say that despite a barrage of smear attacks from every single corner of the mainstream media over the last 2 weeks, Ron Paul's chances of winning the Iowa primary have, if anything, increased, with a new poll show Paul increasing his lead over Mitt Romney, while the New York Times primary projection shows Paul's chances of winning at 60% compared with Romney at 30%. The sheer desperation of the establishment in its efforts to topple Ron Paul are staggering to behold. Everything from bitter former employees of the Paul campaign to ludicrous YouTube videos of crying women to the rehashed, debunked 15-year-old smears about racist newsletters. Every single piece of dirt imaginable has been thrown at Paul, but nothing has stuck. The phenomena once again illustrates the fact, as we saw during Rand Paul's senatorial campaign, that the corporate press are now so disturbed by a significant portion of Americans that their coordinated smear attacks, which used to have power to sink candidates almost overnight, are now rapidly losing influence. It also highlights the fact that the smear attacks against Paul have been completely hyped and exaggerated out of proportion. So, this is the tactic, friends. You've been watching the news. Just watch Bill O'Reilly. Listen to the lies he tells. I mean, all you have to do with Bill O'Reilly is fact check. Really, that's all you have to do. Fact check the things the guy says, and you will see that he is a dishonest journalist. Okay, I don't know him as a person, so I can't comment on him as a person, but as far as a supposed reporter or journalist or commentator or whatever that title is, he's dishonest at his job, or he's incompetent. Now, he's incompetent if he doesn't really understand what's going on and he's just reading, but I think he's been in the business long enough that we could say he's just incompetent because he's going over details which are proven to be false. He's giving out false information. Now, he's not the only one. You got Sean Hannity, who's doing the same thing over there. Every now and then, Megyn Kelly throws out some mistruths. I mean, all of them at Fox, they seem to be following a script, an agenda, unfortunately. And it's the same thing over at CNN and the same thing over at MSNBC. They're all following the script of corporate America because corporations run not only America, but they run the world. And if you think that there's something else going on, somebody else is running the world and it's not the corporations, I hate to inform you, but the corporations are running things. Corporations, the banks. It doesn't really take too much research in these days to find out exactly what's going on. All you have to do is a willingness to learn, fingertips, or a way to type on the keyboard and just start searching. Go to Google or whatever search engine you use and just search, and you will find the answers are all out there. They're not hidden. They're only just not reported on the mainstream, but they're out there. You hear me reading them. You hear others on alternative media reading them, so they exist. All right, moving right along. SOPA. We did the part the other day, stop the online piracy. So this article goes on to say, and this is a good article, the tide is turning against SOPA, and we might actually succeed in stopping it. Well, a short week ago, the Internet Censorship Bill, SOPA, looked certain to pass. The tide appears to be quickly turning. Political notes today. The conservative and liberal blogosphere are unifying behind opposition to Congress's Stop Online Piracy Act, with right-leaning bloggers arguing their very existence could be wiped out if the anti-piracy bill passes. If either the U.S. Senate Protect Act and the U.S. House Stop Online Piracy Act become law, political blogs such as Red Mask Group, Conservative, and Blue Mask Group will cease to exist, wrote a blogger at Red Mask Group. Some good news on the SOPA front. Its corporate base of supporters is starting to crumble. David Dayton wrote at Firedog Lake, GoDaddy is not alone. Scores of law firms are requesting their names be removed from the Judiciary's Committee official list of SOPA supporters. In the blogosphere, the trajectory of the bill seemed set, that it is destined for failure if the pressure of online community is kept up. The dynamic is clear. When SOPA and its Senate counterpart, Protection IP Act, or PIPA, become high profile among internet community, the lazy endorsements from companies and various hangers-on become toxic, and now such supporters are scrambling, hollowing out with the actual support for the bill. Suddenly, a bill with widespread corporate support doesn't have much support at all, Dayton said. Conservatives took a slight different tact, though with similar disdain for the anti-piracy measure. Indeed, blogger Eric Erickson said that he would encourage a primary for any Republican who supports that bill. I love Marsha Blackburn. She's a delightful lady and a solidly conservative member of Congress, and I am pleading right now that I will do everything in my power to defeat her in her 2012 re-election bid due to her co-sponsorship with SOPA. Erickson wrote at Red State, Congress has proven that it does not understand the Internet. Perhaps they will understand the brute strength against them at the ballot box. If members of Congress do not pull their name from co-sponsoring a SOPA, the left and right should pledge to defeat each and every one of them. Okay, so there you go. Very important indeed. Remember the other day, this SOPA, the very companies that are supporting this are the companies who are putting out the software and encouraging you to download the items that are in question. So by doing so, what they want, they're then taking the results and saying, look how many people have downloaded copyrightable material. Apparently they forget to leave out that they provided the software and the instructions for how this copyrighted material could be downloaded. Those are important details in the matter, don't you think, CBS? I think so indeed. Yet you provided all that information, and when people went ahead and followed your instructions, now you are supporting a bill to penalize those people for following your instructions. So are we to believe then we're not to listen to anything you say because your words have no value? Is that what we're to take from this? Because that's what it seems. You're trying to play both sides of the fence. Download stuff, but now we're going to sue you for downloading stuff. Doesn't make sense, but people are waking up, which is a good thing. Now, here's a story here. We heard talk on the mainstream, and when I first heard this on Fox, I knew that the timeline that they were giving was not accurate, because they were talking about this debris field from Japan, and it wasn't going to hit for about a year. They were saying, well, it's been a real short year, and in the few short weeks to months that it's been, the debris field is already hitting the West Coast. That's right. The fact that no federal agency is preparing for this huge wave of radiated garbage shows just how insane the leaders of this once great country have become. A massive debris field the size of California that is surely fully radiated is on its way to the West Coast. Yet the corporate-controlled media instead focuses on Iran and a nuclear program. The West Coast of the United States will be hit with radiated debris from Japan, and the corporate media will either heavily downplay the dangers or completely ignore them altogether. So I'm going to play this here if you can take a look. Okay. And you could see that the graphic here, how it's moving across. And there you go. So there you go. This is debris from Japan that is starting to hit the United States a whole lot sooner than they chose to tell you on the mainstream media, and are choosing not to tell you at this point in time because, shh, you don't want people to know that there's radiated stuff coming onto their beaches. Don't say anything, maybe they won't know, right? Is that the idea? Is that what the mainstream says? Don't say anything, maybe people won't notice. You know, they say that because they really do believe that you aren't paying attention out there. You know that, don't you? The mainstream media, Fox News, thinks you're idiots. You may watch their shows day in, day out, but they think you're stupid. That's why the card that I showed you the other day had all those little sheep on it. That's what they think. That's what CNN thinks. That's what MSNBC thinks. That's what CBS thinks. They don't think you're very intelligent. I, on the other hand, understand that you are intelligent and that you have the ability to do the research and you have the ability to think for yourself. So exercise those things, prove them wrong, because eventually the mainstream media is going to go down the tubes because people are turning their back against their lies. And corporate America is going to have a wake-up call when it realizes that there's more people in this country that are willing to be truthful and honest than there are those that are willing to lie, cheat, and steal. So, very important things indeed. Now, the last story is going to come to us here. This is a story that played in RT. This is CIA involved in Occupy Wall Street crackdown. Well, we've heard about the police out there, but this takes us into deeper waters. Now we're starting to talk about other agencies that may or may not be involved. But of course, the old catchphrase, I can either confirm or deny, is basically what they're going to say. But let's listen to this report. Here we go.
Never know for sure, as the agency is not divulging any information on the subject. By law, the CIA is not allowed to be involved in domestic matters, only foreign intelligence issues. But after seeing the organized, almost military response to the demonstrations throughout the nation, some are raising eyebrows as to what is behind the crackdown and who exactly is involved. One agency, DC-based Partnership for Civil Justice, filed a request to the CIA to get some answers, but the request was denied. Now, this raises many questions, and to help me answer them, I am joined by Mara Verheyden-Hillard, Executive Director of the Partnership for Civil Justice Fund. Welcome, Mara. So, when you requested this information from the CIA under the Freedom of Information Act, what response did you get?
Well, it's Mara Verheyden-Hillard, but we had filed...
Sorry about that.
It's fine, it happens. We filed, the Partnership for Civil Justice Fund filed a series of Freedom of Information Act demands against different government agencies when we saw this quick succession of evictions and crackdowns on occupied encampments around the country. And the Central Intelligence Agency is one of the agencies that we ask that they release records that are in their possession related to the Occupy movement and any involvement that they may have. Now, there are a number of responses they could have given, but the response they gave us is extremely disturbing. They wrote back saying that they would refuse to process the request, basically on the grounds that if the CIA had any involvement, it would have been illegal for it to have involvement, and therefore their record system is not constructed in a way that they could possibly search for their involvement. And they refused to process the request.
But aren't they, by law, under the Freedom of Information Act, required to come up with these documents?
If they have them, yes. And they could have written back saying they were conducting a search. They could have written back saying they conducted a search and found nothing if there was nothing to find. But what is it that they have to hide? Instead, they wrote back They cited their authorizations under the law and the fact that they're not supposed to be engaged in domestic intelligence activity, and then responded by saying, therefore, we won't process your request, and that we are incapable of properly searching for any evidence of our activity. Now, I note that this is on the heels of the Associated Press reports that have come out where they did their own investigative reports into the CIA's involvement with the NYPD. And the NYPD in New York City has been, as we know, ground zero for Occupy Wall Street.
Now, after their response, they're not giving you these documents. Do you think that they're trying to hide these records?
If they have them, apparently they are trying to hide them. I mean, why not write back and say that they're conducting a search, or that they conducted a search, and if they genuinely didn't have anything, they didn't have anything. But they wrote back and said they would refuse to process the request.
So what indication, obviously something raised a suspicion where you wanted to get this information. What indication are we seeing that the CIA was in fact involved in the crackdown of these protests throughout the country?
Well, what we have seen is around the country in quick succession there are crackdowns and evictions all around the United States. We know that there's been coordination because there's been admissions from different government officials, that there was coordination among different mayor's offices and police agencies, and they discussed talking points and tactics for dealing with the Occupy movement. And there's a real question as to federal involvement. I mean, I don't think anyone would credibly suggest that the federal government is not evaluating, is not looking at, is not considering how to deal with this massive movement taking over the United States and inspiring people worldwide. Of course they are. So we have simply asked the CIA and other federal agencies to turn over and make public their documents related to any coordination or involvement they have had in these crackdowns. And that's what the Partnership for Civil Justice Fund is trying to obtain right now.
So if the CIA is involved, that raises a lot of serious legal questions because that breaches both departmental code and national legislation. Could we talk about the legal implications of this?
Sure. Well, the CIA, has a very ugly history in the United States of domestic surveillance, going from certainly throughout the Vietnam War era, the Civil Rights Movement, and it was exposed during the COINTELPRO period and the Church Committee hearings. And the CIA had Operation Chaos and other mechanisms where they were directly spying on people in the anti-war movement and the Black liberation movement. And that conduct is barred by law. But as we've seen, obviously, the U.S. intelligence agencies have really run aggressively wild over people's fundamental rights, both in the United States and worldwide in the last decade. And we've seen no effort from the government or this administration to restrain them. The fact that the CIA is operating in with the NYPD in New York City raises very significant issues as to whether or not they are currently, at this moment, in violation of fundamental laws restricting their conduct. And we want to know what role they have with the Occupy movement.
Now, we are dealing with the CIA, so who would be tasked with investigating the CIA? Because obviously they can't investigate themselves. So what would that look like?
Well, this is always a problem when agencies, then turn to police themselves. They're not very successful at it. One way to do it is what we're doing, is for the public to make a demand and for the public and the population to insist that the government make public its records. That people have a right to know what the government of the United States is doing. And that's the step that we've taken. That's the first step to make these demands. If we need to go to court to obtain information and to try and get a judicial order forcing the government to open its records, then we will. We don't think that the government of the United States has a right to keep secret books on the people of the United States.
So you are prepared to take legal action against the CIA?
Yes, we are.
Now, I understand that you also filed similar requests with other agencies.
Yes, we have filed requests with the Department of Homeland Security. We have filed them with the FBI, with the Park Service and the Department of Justice as well. We're also filing requests all around the United States with local municipalities and police agencies and mayor's offices to get information on their coordination as well as their dealing with the federal law enforcement authorities.
Any response yet from those agencies?
We are actually getting some documents we expect shortly from the District of Columbia, and we expect others to also be producing or refusing to produce. And if they do, we are prepared to take legal action to get this material.
And really quickly, I want to ask you, with the response that we are seeing from this Occupy Wall Street, the demonstrations, why the feds would get involved and why we saw such a strong, almost military response to the movement?
Well, it's true. We're seeing a military or paramilitary response from police agencies in the United States. And as I said, this is a movement that's really inspiring people. It's putting front and center the fundamental injustices in society in the United States and around the world. And people are demanding change. And that's when change happens. When you see huge numbers of people taking to the streets and refusing to take no for an answer, the government is really going to have to look at that and decide how they can handle it, or if they can handle it, because people have demands right now, and those demands are not going to go away.
Mara, thank you so much for weighing in on this. That was Mara Hillard. He is the Executive Director of the Partnership for the Civil Justice Fund.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so government agencies involved secretively. Huh. Who would have thought? Really? Are you surprised? I'm not surprised. That's what they do. They like to spy on people. You know, they indoctrinate people through television, through movies. You watch the movies. How many movies are out there, or television shows, that are about the CIA or other government agencies? And these characters are made to be likable characters, so you think that this is great what they're doing. And they put shows on, and they do things within these shows that really aren't necessarily very legal. And yet we watch them and we accept them because, oh well, they're American and it's a TV show and it's all okay. But it's not, because of the things that they were doing in the shows, they actually were doing in real life, which most certainly they are, people would complain about them like they're doing. So the TV shows really aren't good examples. They kind of set bad examples of what the government should do, because the government is just getting away with lies. We need to have a changing of the guard. The idea that the founding fathers had of setting the government in place was a great idea. It worked well for a while until corruption got in. We need to keep the government. We need to get rid of the corruption and the corruptors. And there's a lot of them out there, unfortunately, because we live in a country where, in a world, not just a country, in a world where humans are very weak-minded. And weak-minded humans are in positions of power, and because of their weak-mindedness, they do things that are dark and diabolical and evil and hurtful and mostly selfish. So we need to get these corrupt individuals out of the administration, out of Congress, out of the governments of the world, and they need to be replaced with good people, because there's millions of more good people around the world than there are the corrupt ones. The corrupt ones should be in jail. The Bushes, the Cheneys, the Obamas, the Emmanuels, on and on and on, they all need to be in jail. And the good people who want to really run this in the right way, we need to promote them to positions of power, positions of authority. I think we'll be better off when we do that. And there you go. That's my 2 cents on that matter. All right, last thing we're going to do is let's do our meditation for today. So go ahead and close your eyes. Relax. There we go. All right, let's imagine ourselves standing in a field, looking up at the sky. And as you stand in the field and you look up at the sky, see a few clouds floating. See the sun shining. There's a nice gentle breeze blowing across. And you feel calm. You feel peaceful. You feel alive. And as you feel this peaceful feeling, you realize that this peaceful feeling is available for everyone on this planet at all times. We just need to take a time out from what we are doing to pay attention to the peacefulness that exists. And if we seek it out, we shall find. And once we find that peacefulness, draw that energy down into you. And share that energy of peacefulness with everyone you meet. Those that are aware of the peacefulness in life and those who aren't. Just keep sending that energy out there. And imagine, little by little, the feeling of peacefulness overcoming everyone around the world. And as this peacefulness grows, wars stop. Violence ceases. Anger comes to an end. And peacefulness really grows and grows. Let's imagine from our heart chakra, we're sending out love all around the world right now as a ray of green energy all around the globe in all different directions. Imagine this love being received, and imagine feeling the love that you receive from all around the planet. Let's think a good thought for everybody in the world today as we close out this year and prepare for the upcoming year. And as we're holding the good thought in mind, let us bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. There you have it. That is it for today. Remember, on Friday we're going to be doing our goal setting workshop. It's going to be in the second part of the hour after the UFO news when we come back. And we're going to do about 20-25 minutes or so of just setting goals in different categories, thinking of what it is we want to do in 2012. So put your thinking caps on, contemplate that idea so that come Friday you'll have some things in mind. And then we'll go ahead and we'll set them all down and we'll begin the journey into 2012 in a really positive way. How's that sound to you? I know it sounds good to me, so we'll make that happen. That's it for the show, my friends. I'll be back tomorrow with more news information. Be safe out there today. Research the stories that we read, and there's a little bit more information there. That's it. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. I'm out of here.